What's up, friends? My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Type in the chat what you think I'm flying there. Welcome to Setup Sunday. We've done this once or twice before. I'm going to show you guys. I've got a rig that needs to be set up from scratch, and that's a perfect opportunity to show you guys my entire Betaflight setup, top to bottom. Kevin J, just another Kevin FPV with a $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, hello, CiottiFPV and everyone. Come on, everyone. This man deserves super chats. Thank you, brother. I've new fund, 2025 healthcare fund. Tag me and let me know if you want me to add your $10 to this, Kevin. Thank you, brother. In the chat, Titan Curtis Hayes. I can't even say it. It's so silly. Schnauzer FPV. Teddy's got his own account. Chuck P, FPV Toast, Spaceman Spiff, Justin Muller, Bad, Douglas Six, Michael Kajas, Northern Tier, Kevin J, Brian T, Uriel, Brent Anderson, Chaser FPV, Franz Wooldrich, Timmons, Nerone, two different people, Freelojo, Tristan's Interests, Northern Tier, Raf FPV, what's up, everybody? Welcome. So yeah, full Betaflight setup on this. HDZero versus Walk Snail. Kevin J, damn dude, Kevin J with another super chat, $20 this time, 2025 healthcare. So I'm gonna take the $10 and I'm gonna spend it on terrible things, and then I'm gonna take this 20. And it's going to go towards healthcare next year. I'm going on the Affordable Care Act tomorrow night, is hopefully, because I guess it wouldn't. I don't know. As soon as I possibly can, with things coming that could destroy it forever. And so, yeah, I'm going to be paying out of pocket for healthcare. But I'm 43 years old. I'm going to be 44 next year. I've had a good run here of not having healthcare and kind of getting away with it. I've been sort of tempting fate for a bunch of years now, and I I got away with it. I'm gonna just take that win and not, you know, not let it ride. What is happening over here? Stop it. Let's do this. It's gonna be. I'm trying to think of a word with S. It's gonna be Silly Hair Sunday. There we go. Anglo Fro Sunday. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So yeah, welcome. If you want to talk directly to me in the chat, all you got to do is type CiottiFPV. If you do that, it'll light up an orange. You can do that with each other. If you want to get Uriel's attention, in your chat message, type URIEL. And then for him, his own name will light up an orange. You guys can try it if you want. Type your own name into a chat message, and you'll see. It'll light up an orange. It's magical. You got to spell it right. You got to get the spaces in the right places. That rhymes. I'm going to use that. And yeah, you can get each other's attention. You can also do a super chat like Kevin J very graciously did twice in a row. CiottiFPV.com is the other place that you can support me directly. This is a completely crowdfunded thing that I've got going here. This way, when I review something, you don't have to worry about, you know, is he beholden to the company that sent it to him? Nope. I tell him that it's going to get a full review and there's no punches pulled. Most of them then don't send me anything. Some of them still do. Takes big balls to hear that and to see my live streams and then send me some stuff, doesn't it? So when a company actually sends me something, that means a lot. Here are the other ways you can support me. There's the streaming schedule, the link to the YouTube. Patreon, as it says, helps me the most. Yo, my Patreon has gone up over $100 ever since I said, and I've said this before, but it's been a couple weeks, that Patreon changed their setup. They used to only offer recurring memberships. So you sign up with Patreon and it auto renews every month. A few months ago, they changed it so that you can set up a non-recurring thing. For some asinine, idiotic reason, they have taken lots of people that were on the recurring. Well, I mean, everybody was on the recurring, but they've taken a lot of people without telling them from that old recurring and put them onto a single month plan. So a bunch of you are no longer patrons, even though you never canceled. It absolutely blows my mind that they did this, and it's super insane, but other than that, their website has been great, and you know, so I'm not going to scream and bitch and moan too loud about it. But yeah, if you think you're a patron, you might not be. You can either go to Patreon to check there, or you can actually just go to my Discord and just type a message into my Discord. And if your name shows up in white, you're no longer a patron. Patrons are going to be either red, purple, or yellow. So if your name over on Discord is white, Patreon switched you to the single month deal, and that month ran out, and then your additional Discord privileges went away, and all the other good stuff that you get from joining my Patreon, right? Access to the secret YouTube playlist with all the fun stuff, access to both of the Facebook groups, my ever-loving thanks, full Discord access, and all the technical articles on the Patreon page as well. So yeah, man, jump onto the Patreon. Now is a really good time. Speaking of, I'm getting hammered by emails of people rejoining the Patreon. Chuck P, thank you for rejoining. I'm pretty sure that you were on previously. Gabe Torneros, welcome to the Gangly Gang. Thank you for your support, my friend. William Scott, editing his membership in a very generous way. Thank you, dude. Zotek from Weebleed, editing his membership. Thank you so much, homie. Nathan Adams, welcome to the Gangly Gang if you weren't already on it. If you were, thank you for rejoining. Very cool of you. And I think that gets me caught up. So yeah, check it out. You very well might not be a patron anymore. If you had to jump off, that's totally cool. Believe me, I get it. Any support that you guys give me is super, super, super appreciated. be that just watching the streams and learning and absorbing this information, which helps the algorithm, right? Or leaving comments, leaving chats, all that good stuff. That's all free, and it's amazing. The affiliate, if you're going to do the free stuff, do me a huge favor and replace your bookmarks to these websites with my affiliate links. This is free money up in here from affiliate links, and if they're not my affiliate links, use someone else's. Use somebody's affiliate links, yo. Change your bookmarks over. If you don't use bookmarks, you can remove your URL bar suggestions when you type like AMA for Amazon or NEW for Newbie Drone. You can remove your current suggestions, click my Newbie Drone or my Amazon or whatever affiliate link a couple times in a row. That'll tell your browser, hey, this is the link that this guy wants to go to when he types NEW. And then you don't even have to think about it. That's a totally free way that you can support me. It's amazing, and I really appreciate it. Etsy has some really fun stuff that you can buy, some stickers, some hardware, even some full builds over there. And there's a bunch more full builds coming as soon as I can find the time. Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me, or you can just message me and we'll schedule it out. I'll help you fly better, build better, tune better, or just answer any questions that you've got. Whatever you got going on, I've been doing this for over 8 years. I can help you with pretty much anything. Take advantage of somebody with actual knowledge rather than going onto Facebook and or Reddit and getting worse than 50% bad info versus good info. Be really careful over there. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to potentially get you hurt because most people don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they're just desperate to help. And you know, be noticed. Teespring has some really fun shirts and other apparel. PayPal, if you want to support me directly, but you don't want YouTube to take 30%, I'm okay with it because they give me this awesome platform to stream from. And then again, all these affiliate links, my friends. Amazon, Get FPV, Pyrodrone, Race Day Quads, Newbie Drone, Weebleed, Beta FPV, FPV Cycle, Oh My God, Brain 3D, HDZero, Flywoo, Emax, Banggood, Camera Butter, AliExpress. There you go. That's how you support me, friends. I really appreciate it. You guys do an awesome job of it. You're the only reason that I can continue to do this full time. In the chat, folks that have tagged me so far, Uriel says, how did it go? How did what go? Franz says, hello, CiottiFPV in chat. Michael Kajas says, any ideas where I can find motor spacers, buy or 3D print for frame? Mobile 7 V3 and motors Beta FPV 1102 props are now hitting the frame badly. That is absolutely hysterical that you bring that up right now, because I swear to God, last night I found an extra little. So these are the Beta FPV motor spacers that work really well. These come with the Meteor 65 and 70. They definitely come with the Meteor 75 Air frames, definitely. I think they also come with the Meteor 65 Air frames. So you can buy one of those frames to get a set, or I just took this extra set and I put it over on the coffee table, which is like my staging area for taking pictures of stuff and then putting it up onto the Etsy store. They're not up on the Etsy store yet, but if you want to message me, I will absolutely sell these to you. Do me a favor, though. Hit the Etsy store. See if there's anything that you want. If you can buy a couple of things from me, I'll throw these in for free. So, yeah. If somebody else needs a set of these, I might be able to scrounge up an extra set of them. No promises. But yeah, Michael Kajas, I got you covered. Maybe if you're within the country. If you're outside of the US, shipping is going to be like $30-something, which wouldn't really make much sense. Try to find somebody local that sells the Meteor 75 airframe. Like I said, I think the Meteor 65 airframe also comes with these, but don't quote me on that. I'm going to leave these right here in case you want them. Do me a favor, Michael. Tag me in the chat. Tell me if you want them or not. If you don't want them, I'm going to put them back over there on the coffee table. Kevin J, thank you again for the 2 super generous super chats, my friend. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Uriel says, tell, how did it go? How did what go? What's it? Apache Smoke Wounded Snipers in the house. What's up, brother? He says, hey, what's up? Love your hair. Thank you, dude. Bad says, Uriel seems happy, so I'm hoping it went well. What went well? What is it? What are you guys talking about? Justin Muller, Thank you, brother. Wyatt Tincher says, I'm the engineer for school-based robotics team. What's up, Wyatt? I remember you. What 2S battery would you recommend, or is 1S better? It depends. It depends on the build. It depends on how heavy the build is. It also depends on how much runtime you're looking for. Just blindly, just completely blindly answering that question, which doesn't do you much good, but it's the best I can do with that one chat comment. My current favorite 2S Tiny Whoop battery, I don't even know if it's a Tiny Whoop. I'm assuming it's a Tiny Whoop. This is my favorite Tiny Whoop battery at the moment for 2S. This is the tinywhoop.com BT 3.0 300 mAh. This battery is awesome. It's super light. If the builds are not using BT 3.0 though, this battery won't do you any good. If the builds are using PH 2.0, Emax sells this little 350 mAh 2S, which is pretty awesome. PH 2.0 kind of sucks, but you do have enough wire lead here where you could cut this off and put like an XT30 on. So there's an option for you. If you're talking about XT30 batteries, I don't actually have a good feel for what XT30 batteries are out there. You can, if you look hard enough, I'm willing to bet you could find a 350 mAh. But I mean, it really depends. It depends on the runtime that you want. If you want more runtime, you want 450 mAh or 500 or 550. There's not a quick answer to that question. There's a lot of things that kind of intersect with every question. Most people, this is why the majority of the answers on Facebook and Reddit are dead ass wrong, is because you'll ask a question like that, and then instead of the responses being, hey, we need a lot more info to actually answer that question, people just randomly say, like, oh, this is the best battery in the world. And then somebody else says, no, this is the best battery in the world. And then somebody else picks up a 6S battery and says, this is the best battery in the world, because they didn't even read the goddamn question. So, yeah, be super careful, guys. Like, seriously, on Facebook and Reddit, you're going to waste a lot of money, and you could potentially get hurt from just terrible info absolutely everywhere on those two spots. NeuronFPV says, did you get the opportunity to test the new Air65 Champion? What are your thoughts? Thank you. You know, I didn't. I kind of forgot about it after the stream last night. A bunch of you mentioned it on the stream yesterday. Let me at least... well, hold on. I did not get a reply back from my contact at Betaflight, but a bunch of you said that people have been reviewing it already. So if I type in Air65 Champion, if I can find... Okay, yeah, so we're good. All right, cool. So here it is. We're not going to... Hey, look at that! Confirmation that the Air65 frame does have the risers in there. That's hysterical. Let's take a super quick look. Right. Oh, God. All right, let me just give you a super quick first impression of it. Comes with 1219S gem fan props. That's awesome. That's a big deal. Air65 frame in smoke crotch gray. Looks like this is the 5-in-1 board with the VTX and the receiver built into it. Motors are different. What are these motors? Motors are 0702 version 2, 30,000 kV. Very cool. They'll make good power. The Betaflight motors are either under-spec'd or the Happy Model motors are over-spec. A Betaflight 30,000 kV motor will, although this is a version 2, the previous generation Betaflight motors gave you more power and less efficiency than what their KVs would state. So this 30,000 kV might give you like 32,500 kVs worth of power. Although it is a version 2. It's their same G-string canopy, which I think is the best of the G-string canopies. I had previously complained about the way that the camera mounts here. I did find out that I didn't have the little screw on the bottom here cranked down tight enough. Hopefully on this AIO, the UFL for the video connector doesn't break off like a lot of the previous ones. As much as I would, they have modified the G-string canopy here to not hit the UFL. Yeah, they just snipped it with clippers, it looks like. But when you try to remove this UFL antenna, that's when this UFL port will rip off a lot of times and take the trace with it. This happened during Chris Rosser's review. It's happened to me. It's happened to many folks. So I think the move with all of these Air65s is to just never remove the antenna. Leave the whip antenna. If you're going to fly freestyle and or you don't care about weight, just leave it alone. Maybe put some E6000 on it so that it doesn't pop off on its own. But yeah, just leave this antenna. If you want to go ultra light, you should pull this antenna out of the canopy, cut the shrink wrap off the outside of the antenna, and remove the ground plane with your soldering iron without removing the antenna. For the love of God, on these new Betaflight AIOs, do not pull the UFL off of the board. It will probably take the base with it, which completely ruins the board. Like, that's game over. There's no coming back from that. Well, I guess you could, if there's a way to deactivate the internal VTX, I guess you could then run an external VTX, but that's insane. The motors are direct soldered down. Other than that, it looks to be about the same. The propellers are not pushed all the way down on the motors. Let me push it the rest of the way down. Let me put some force on it to see if it'll go the rest of the way down. Hold on. Nope. All right, so I put the amount of force that that I have found is like the maximum before you start to really stress out the motors. So what I'm going to recommend if you get one of these things is that you put your prop popper on and you take the propellers off and drill them right away. Woo! They have pushed these on here hard already. All right, so there we go. So yeah, take the props off before flying it, but definitely don't push them down the rest of the way. Take the props off, throw them. Yeah, this is removing material. The GemFan 1219S props do have to be drilled out, I've found, over the last however many months they've been available. So yeah, make sure you drill these props out before you put them on these motors, or else you can screw up these motor bells. And so now that it's been drilled out, I can put it down here on this motor. Ooh, that's still pretty tight. I'm actually going to hit it again. Eventually you'll develop like a feel for how hard you should and shouldn't push down on these. Long story short, if you start making faces, if you start like actually having to muscle these things down, you're pushing too hard. Get yourself a 0.99 millimeter drill bit. I have them on my Etsy store. I have a bunch more on the way. I put the Amazon order in the other day. Here's another thing I've found with the 0.99 drill bits. Just putting the prop on and spinning it doesn't take enough material off. So I'll do that first, and then I'll usually test fit it, and it's usually still too tight. What I'll then do is rotate it to get the prop onto the drill bit, and then pull it off. And then I'll do that again. Push the drill bit all the way in, and then pull it out. This is going to remove a little bit of extra material versus just spinning the propeller on there. And now let's take a quick look. This should be just about right. Yep, that's just perfect. So that's been my my rotation with these propellers that are too tight. And all of the propellers are too tight other than the GemFan 1210 biblades, is to put the prop on, spin it both directions. That removes some material. take the prop off, and then push the prop on without spinning, pull it off without, push it on with spinning or without it, whatever, and then off, and then on again and off again. You'll see when you pull the prop off without spinning, there'll be a little poof of dust that comes out. You're getting that little bit of extra material out of them. So yeah, that's going to be my definite recommendation if you pick one of these things up. I will do a proper live stream Wednesday, I guess, with this, because tomorrow night's live stream, if there is one, and I'm kind of sort of on call right now, so I might be, there might be a sudden no live streams for a couple of weeks thing, but we'll figure that out when I'm allowed to talk more about it. So yeah, tomorrow night's live stream is a giveaway live stream. It's also a really good time to join the Patreon because of that. For as little as $5 a month, you can get in on the Tiny Whoop and Toothpick giveaways tomorrow night. Yo, somebody push these props on hard, for the record. Oh my god, these are really fighting me. There we go. Jeez. Okay. So yeah, tomorrow night's a giveaway live stream. Maybe I'll fly this tomorrow night. If you guys are like desperate to see me fly this, maybe I can fly it tomorrow night. But yeah, we'll do a full live stream on it Wednesday, since it looks like it's officially out. Yeah, it's interesting. Usually the manufacturers will tell you a release date. Betaflight has always told me a release date in the initial like blanket message that they send over saying, "Hey, are you interested?" This time they didn't. They were just talking about the dates that there were going to be sales on it. But they were talking about like Black Friday. That's like a couple weeks from now, and from what I've heard, this is like a limited run. So I don't know if the limited run of these is going to last until Black Friday. Kind of odd, but whatever. I don't see anything like has anybody watched any of the other reviews? What's so different about this? It thus far it just looks like it's got the 5-in-1, which I guess none of their other bind and flies have. The other bind and flies have the 4-in-1 with the external receiver. So I guess that's the main thing. But also these motors have a big 2 on them. I'm assuming that means version 2. So I'm guessing those two things are what make this different. This is set up with props out, which I'm going to leave it for the review video so that it's like as close to out of the box as possible. Yeah. Probably about it. Looks like it's the CO3 camera. It's cool that it's all blacked out. That's kind of slick. And yeah, these props are perfect now. They take a little bit of force to put them down, but not so much that that you're going to hurt the motor shaft. So there we go. It is now ready to fly. I'm just going to wait to fly it. Sorry. Oh my god, it comes with a little pack of peak screws. That's pretty cool. So that's definitely different. Cool. Yeah, the name Champs really makes sense now. This is like they're setting this up possibly for this. Shout out to Zotek from Weebleed for sending this shirt over. There's a so this is actually the small of this shirt. There's a medium version of this shirt that's going to go in one of the giveaways. Hang on one second. Let me just see. Yeah, no, of course it's another fucking election text message. Just making sure. Oh, look at that. Instead of the A for Air Series, they used a picture of their little G-string. Very cool. Shout out to Betaflight for sending this over. That's very cool. What are we doing? I'll get caught up on chat, and then we'll dive into a full Betaflight setup. Neuron FPV says... oh, we got that. Thank you, Neuron, for that reminder, actually. Zabluga says, really appreciate what you do. I learn a lot from you. Thank you, dude. Thank you for it really like it's great to be able to do this for a living. But like one of the best things about this is that there actually are people that learn and fly better and understand this more and have more fun from it. Like I know that sounds kind of like bullshit, but it really is true. I'm a very emotional, sentimental kind of guy, and this did not start to be a career. This started because Joshua did a live stream from my apartment in Charleston and said, yo, you're really good at this and you have a lot of knowledge to give. You should think about doing live streaming. There was no even remote conversation about you should do this for a career. And yeah, I started live streaming to just get all this info out to as many people as I possibly could, because that's how we all learn and that's how we all get better, right? Like I learned from you guys too, and the community that we've formed, over on mainly our Discord. There's a lot of good stuff that bounces around back and forth, and I figure stuff out that I hadn't previously figured out, and that's pretty cool. Yo, you know what the problem is owning a whole bunch of Shark Freestyle vintage watches? Is that when daylight savings time changes, you have to go into I have 5 of these. I have 4 of these. You have to go into each individual one to change the time. I don't know why. I've never done them all at once. I've always done them individually. But yeah, that's funny. We take that shit for granted having iPhones, right? Like just using your iPhone as your watch. You never have to do that. Uriel says, you know what you could not tell. Oh, yeah, I'm still waiting on it. Bad says, last stream says something amazing might be happening and might delay this stream. Yeah, no, there might be no streams for 2 full weeks, but I'm still waiting. I'll talk about it when I can talk about it. Michael Kajaz says, Motorspacer topic. I'm from Poland, so sending to the US will be problematic. I'll look for a different solution. Thank you for your proposition. You're certainly welcome. Thank you for letting me know. For anybody stateside that wants these, they're coming. They're coming to the Etsy store. If you don't want to wait for this to come to the Etsy store, just message me. I'll gladly sell them to you. If you're not a total, absolute fucking nerd, and you don't know what the hell Michael Kajas and I are talking about, I don't blame you. It's surrounding these 2S, but I was just showing this to the microphone. Hi, guys. This is what we're talking about here. On our 2S build, I mean, just, it really doesn't matter if it's 2S or not, but it just happens to be surrounding our 2S builds. If you're going to use the Mobula 7 V3 frame with a motor that is only 2 millimeters tall, 1002, 0802, 0702, don't use an 0702, the propeller is going to sit too low in the duct, and the propeller is actually going to hit the supports of the duct. And so these little motor spacers, you just slide them in under the motor, and then you got to find... Here's the real pain in the ass, is finding motor screws that are long enough. I have saved every single screw that has come with any bind and fly, any piece of gear, everything that I've bought for the last 8 years. And so I had a bunch of longer screws that just happened to be the right thread, same thread as motor screws. But for the rest of you, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what the motor screws are. I don't know if they're... My guess is that they're M1.4, but don't quote me on that. So, yeah. That's what we're talking about. Little motor spacers, raise the motors so that the prop doesn't hit the guards. When I say the prop hits the guards, what I'm talking about is the bottom edge of the propeller hitting that right there. I'm pushing down on the blade, as you can see. But yeah, without that little spacer, you can kind of see that little clear piece of plastic in between the frame and the motor base. Without that little piece of plastic, it like skims it, and then it ends up catching it if you bend the prop up at all. And it's a pain in the ass. if you run it for long enough, it'll break the tips off of all the propellers, and it'll kind of be fine, but it's still, it's a pain in the ass. Franz Wooldrich says, I fly with Walksnail 3-inch and want to get into 1S or 2S whoops, 50-50 indoor-outdoor flying. Which one should I buy? Also, will you do a build guide on YouTube for a Walksnail build in the near future? I don't really do build guides per se. I do like live streams where I do the builds, and then I just talk all about it on that live stream. So, if you're looking for like everything you need to know about a Walksnail build, I haven't shown this in a while. Here's a little piece of YouTube magic that most people don't know about. If you go to someone's channel, anyone's channel, there's a little hidden magnifying glass right here. If you click this, you can search on only their channel. So if you search for Walksnail 1S, if you decide you're going to do a Walksnail 1S build, you can search only my channel for Walksnail 1S, and it's going to hit you with all the different live streams that have that text either in the title or in the description, or I think it also looks at the comments, which is awesome because Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper leaves amazing, leaves an amazing comment on every live stream with timestamps and lots of really, really, really good info. So yeah. This is all of the streams with Walksnail 1S, lots of good stuff, and then you can just kind of look through, you know, this is me, like, flying 1S versus 2S. This isn't the build. Making ultimate... Yeah, just read through the titles of the streams, and so here you go. Yeah, Happy Model Mobula 7, 1S, ELRS, Walksnail build begins. Bang. And then you can kind of watch me walk through the build, and during the process of the build, that's where we talk about what motor options there are, which ones I think are going to perform well if I've already run some of them, you know, what my thoughts and perspectives are, what the all-up weight's going to be, durability, all the good stuff. A build guide, in my opinion, is a lot less valuable. Yes, it's quicker and easier to watch, but you don't have enough time to, like, talk about it and develop it, right? It's just somebody on the internet who, like, a lot of times threw the build together. A lot of times it's like their first shot at the build. And it's just like them going shopping on Pyrodrone or whatever and just buying a bunch of stuff. And it's basically, here's how to plug things in and solder, right? There's typically not a whole lot of development or any development that's gone on with the build. To like clue you in as to what might work for you. You know, these build guides, like in their best form, where there has been some development, it's a look at what rig is perfect for that person that's doing the build guide. You're a different person, and you have completely different wants and needs and desires. And so, like, these build guides a lot of times don't really do much good for you. They're great for that person doing it because they've, in theory, put in a bunch of time to figure out what motors, what frame, what AIO, what camera is best for them. But again, you're a different person. More often than not, they actually haven't. More often than not, they've just gotten a bunch of shit and they're just putting it together. And there's zero discussion of, like, here are a bunch of the different motors that are available. Here's which motors will be good for somebody that wants to fly hard freestyle, cinematic, floaty, just kind of like hanging out and enjoying the majesty of flight, long range, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, short form content really misses most of the good stuff. If you want to really learn and if you want to really build something that works properly for you, you just got to put the time in. Those of us that are doing that and making that content, we've put in orders of magnitude more time. So the fact that you have to spend an hour or two watching a live stream, just keep in mind that we've spent 10 or 20 or 30 hours on that. So you're making out like a bandit, because otherwise you have to do that, right? So you have to spend all that time and you have to spend all that money. You have to buy 3, 4, 5, 6 different sets of motors. You have to buy all the propellers. You have to buy all the different frames that'll work. And so, yeah, long form content as always wins. Just got to put the time in. Put it on while you're doing other stuff. leave it on while you're building, leave it on while you're flying your 6 batteries a day, right? You'll pick up a lot just by listening to it, and like you'll hear something specific and wait, what did you just say? And you can rewind and all that good stuff. You can also watch these live streams in 2x, so you cut down the time in half. Wyatt says our custom frame is around 11 grams, RC and power 1002 22,000s, Happy Model X12, Gemfan 1608 3 blades. So the question was what battery, 1S versus 2S. So that does help me, Wyatt. Wyatt follows that up with, do you think 1S would work or is 2S necessary? That's an interesting question. That frame is awful heavy. 11 grams is very heavy. If the performance window is very like low, basically, and you don't need them to fly really good, you just need them to fly, you might be able to make 1S work. Those are 1S motors. Those 1002 22,000s are 1S motors. On 2S, if you motor limit them down to like 65 or 70%, you'll be fine. But you can certainly try 1S because those motors are 22,000 kV. I would get it off of those propellers, though. Those are a very low, well, 1608. You should snag a set of Gemfan 1610 1610 biblade propellers. They might make more power. They're a more pitchy propeller, but they're only a biblade. Pitch is a little bit weird in that way. If the pitch was calculated properly, then yes, they should make more power. But what we've found with FPV propellers is that the pitch numbers are not always calculated properly. And so those 1608 tri-blades might actually make more power than the 1610 bis. The 1610 bi-blades are going to give you much better response time, much better flight performance, and much better efficiency. So yeah, I would try it on 1S. It sounds like you almost have it built. Throw a BT 2.0 lead on there and throw a 1S 450 mAh folded cell battery at it. And it might work. It's going to depend on the aerodynamics of the custom frame. I can already tell you that custom frame is heavy. 11 grams is very heavy. You know, like the comparison point from that frame is like a Mobula 7 1S frame, which is, I want to say, like 3 grams. Actually, I haven't weighed one of these frames in a while. I'm curious as to what it does weigh. Oh, okay, 5.5 grams. I'll be damned. All right, so 11 grams is only double. I mean, that's a lot, but I thought I was in the headspace of it being like triple or quadruple. So yeah, I can almost guarantee you that 1S will work as long as the aerodynamics of your custom frame are not like a mess. Like the fractal frames, for example, they add so much additional obstruction under the motors that they really hurt flight performance, runtime, power production, all that stuff. So yeah, and when you say custom frame to me, I kind of think that it's going to be in that ballpark. These frames are very aerodynamic down here. These supports, these motor supports, are taller than they are wide, which allows the thrust to just rip right past them. When you put a flat piece of carbon down here, it is horrible. It is so unaerodynamic. That's why plastic tiny whoop frames are certainly the way to go. So yeah, it kind of depends. And then, you know, your question about battery size, it's going to come down to the runtime that you're looking for. If you're looking for 3 or 4 minutes of runtime, you could probably get away with like a 300 mAh battery. If you're looking for 10 minutes of runtime, you're going to have to be 450, 500, 550 mAh. 2S is also going to be more efficient than 1S. So like, for example, this 2S 300 mAh battery, which is 600 mAh total, right? It's two 300 mAh pouches. This battery will last longer than a 1S 600 mAh battery because the higher voltage is more efficient. So it kind of depends. Hopefully I've given you enough to go off of there to kind of make that decision. Wyatt also says, sorry about all the questions today. Been busy lately. Just now getting a chance to ask. No worries, brother. Wyatt says, previously I've heard you recommend the True RC Singularity, but have you heard good things about the Foxeer antenna? What would you recommend? The Foxeer antennas are usually pretty good. They're really inexpensive, which is awesome. If you're looking to save money, though, what you want is the ORT Micro V. This is going to be even cheaper than the Foxeer antennas, and this is a known quantity to be really, really good. Race Day Quad sells this, or you can order 10 plus from ORT, which stands for Old Radio Technology, which I just love. That's their Instagram. On Instagram, they are Old Radio. Is it Technology or Transmission? It's either Technology or Transmission. I'm not sure which one it is. But yeah, you'll find him on Instagram. If you want to buy 10 or more, he can sell them, hook you up directly. It's going to ship from overseas, but still. If you Race Day Quads is the spot that has these in stock in the US. So there you go. This antenna is also going to be lighter than the Singularity and the Foxeer antenna, and that's going to make a big difference with these little lightweight rigs you're building. Bad says, Uriel, there we go. Still hush hush. My bet is they want to send CiottiFPV to the ISS to fly whoops in 0G. Uriel says, wink wink, we get it. YouTube just did the thing as always. Scrolling back up, trying to find my spot. Curtis Hayes says, ball bearings heavier since it's 5-in-1 versus external receiver faster. The previous Beta FPV motors have been ball bearing, so that's not different. Heavier since it's 5-in-1 versus external receiver. That's weird. It's weird that their 5-in-1 is heavier than the external receiver, but I digress. Dave S. Says Peak are installed, aren't they? You know, I didn't even notice. Oh, we can weigh it. Nope, it's got metal screws installed because they're sane people. Let's weigh it real quick. Oh, I can even weigh. We can test the which one is lighter question, because I have a. I mean, it is a prototype, so it could be a little bit different in weight. Wow, 17.7 grams. That's light. Champion Edition is 17.7. I don't think I've modified this at all. This is a prototype. Wow, yeah, 17.2. And I changed the props on the prototype. I'll be damned. That is wild. I'll take it, though. I'd rather have the receiver built in than have to deal with the external receiver. I'm kind of looking forward to flying this thing now. I wish I'd remembered. Today's live stream should be about this. But I biffed it, bro. I biffed it. Hopefully there's lots of people, though, that want to see what my magical, mystical Betaflight setup is. All right. Look, this is important. You put it on the stand. You put it on the little stand. And then you put the little hat on it. It's very important. Keep that camera nice and warm. Keep your tiny whoops happy, and they'll be nice to you. Be nice to your quads. When you're flying them, you're very mean to them. When they're relaxing, you gotta keep them warm. Bad says, tested my 2S 75mm today at the Jungle Jam RC and Power 1002 22,000s, 80%. 27 grams dry, hovers at 15% throttle. That's so low. Goes like a rocket. I think I'm in love. Nice. You can fix that hover point a little bit with Throttle Expo. I would actually those are pretty high kV motors. I would actually recommend motor limiting them down a little bit more. I run the 19,000 kV 1002s at 80%, and they make tons of power. If you're running 22,000s at 80%, that must be outrageous. What I can tell you is that trying to manage that much power and Jungle Gym bash, that's going to be that's going to make your life a lot more difficult. It's going to be really fun, don't get me wrong, but when you crash, it's going to hit really hard. And just with jungle gyms, the gaps are small. You know, the monkey bar gaps are like this big. That's as small as the gaps that we fly inside of our house. And less power is going to help quite a bit with that. So you probably actually want to do both. You probably want to drop the motor limiting down to maybe like 70% and add some throttle expo. But yeah, man, the 2S thing is gnarly. Fran says, thanks, mate. You're certainly welcome. Willie FPV says, what about AIO5 from HDZero? Is hype already gone? Any news regarding this AIO? Yeah, I think a lot of the hype is kind of gone. It's really, really cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to probably fly mine today on the live stream. But like, again, with it's HDZero, and HDZero falls into this middle ground of like, if you don't have analog goggles and you do have HDZero goggles, it's a no-brainer. But a lot of us are not in that camp. A lot of us have analog goggles, or we've put an analog receiver onto our HDZero goggles. And in that scenario, it's slightly heavier. The latency is great, don't get me wrong. But the video quality is better, but the way that it breaks up is a lot more obnoxious. And so it's all these pluses and minuses. And like, I think as people live with it, they kind of realize that. And like, the analog rigs are lighter and cheaper, and I feel like a lot of people just end up going back to the analog rigs for that. I have a feeling that the analog rigs might be more durable, but the AIO5 seems to be pretty durable, so that's a super tough one. Look, if you don't have analog goggles and you only have HDZero goggles, it's wonderful and it's amazing and it's a godsend. And the tech behind this board to pack HDZero and an ESC and a flight controller and a receiver all into one 25 by 25 board is wild. But like, in practice, yeah, super, super, super cool. And I love that it exists. But there you go. I love it. I really do. It's just, when I go to fly something, it's like, flying it is like, is gimmicky the word? Gimmicky might be the word. I don't know. It's the video quality is not that much better, and it's heavier, and the runtime is less, right? Mainly because it's heavier, but also because it's powering a much more hungry VTX. So like, why? What, right? Like, why would I fly it? If I'm flying for freestyle to do crazy shit, I don't care about the better video quality. If I'm going out to fly cinematic, I'm going to put a walk snail rig up in the air because the video quality is way better and the range is way better. And so I don't run into a situation where I'm like, ooh, you know what the perfect tool for this is? The HDZero rig. When I fly this is when you guys in the chat say, yo, I haven't seen you fly your AIO5 in a while. Can you fly it? Sure, I have a little setup. We're going to do it today, and away we go. I'm also not a racer. Racing is the other case where this could potentially make sense. But I'm not a racer. But why would you fly something heavier as a racer? I have not gotten the feeling that the improvement in video quality is worth it for any of the racers for the extra weight. So yeah, it's very, very, very cool. But where does it fit? You know, is the thing that just, it drives me nuts because I love the HDZero guys. I love what they're working on. I love what they're doing. They're awesome people. Their customer service is great. Like, everything about them is awesome. And like, that right there is sort of the only reason to fly it for me personally. And sometimes I do fly it for those reasons, but more often than not, I fly the thing that's the best tool for the job that I'm about to do. And I've still yet to find my job that I have access to that's the best for that, right? I'm not a racer. I'm not one of their sponsored pilots. So, yeah, it drives me crazy. It drives me absolutely crazy. Dave S. confirming that it's Old Radio Transmission. Old Radio Transmission is the Instagram channel for ORT. Wyatt says 3 to 4 minutes will be fine. Need it to perform for racing and capture flag style competition. You're going to want to go 2S, my friend, for sure. Go 2S. Go BT 3.0 is going to be my recommendation. And then get you some of these 300s from tinywhoop.com. There's also a 450 mAh battery with BT 3.0 that is a lot bigger, but yeah, this is a Beta FPV battery. BT 3.0 is going to save you a bunch of weight, and yeah, 3 to 4 minutes of runtime. As long as you're not pushing it hard, you should be able to get 3 to 4 minutes on these 300s. It's going to really depend on the aerodynamics of that custom frame, though. If you can't get the runtime that you need on these 300s, you got those 450s available. Curtis Hayes says, I'm just saying what other reviewers have said. The old motors were SE, which used bushings, and the V2 uses ball bearings. Well, so the old motors, there were two different versions. There was a bushing version and there was a bearing version. The ones that came on the bind and flies, I believe, were bearings. I will confirm that right now. Actually, I can't see. The washer is in the way. Yeah, I can't tell. But yeah, the old 702 motors you could pick. There were two different versions. I think they were different colors. I could have sworn that I could totally be wrong, but I could have sworn the ones that came with the bind and flies were the bearing versions. But that's cool. Thank you for giving me that update. That's awesome. I bet you they're the V2 motor. They're not making it with bushings. They're only ball bearings, which I actually don't like. I find that the bushing motors are less noisy, and I can only assume that they're going to be more durable. Islander FPV set. Hold on. YouTube did the thing. Also, that's backed up by Quad 66. Quad 66 a few months ago did a bunch of Tiny Whoop testing, and he found that the bushing motors were same deal, quieter and more durable than the bearing motors. Islander FPV says, what length are your custom ORT Micro Vs? RDQ now sells it in black, white, 50, 60, 70 millimeters length. I believe they're 45 millimeters. I don't know where they get that 50 millimeter measurement from. Like, is that the base of the antenna? It doesn't matter where they get that from. I can just hold these two up and I'll tell you. I'll take a look. So, all right, come on. There we go. All right, so this is one of the regular 50 millimeters from Race Day Quads next to one of my little custom ones. And the difference is 4 millimeters. They're 4 millimeters shorter, so they would be considered 46 millimeter. And I've got 20 of them on the way, so keep your eyes on my Etsy store. There'll be a bunch of the shorter ones coming. Cool. The 50 millimeter ones from RDQ are totally fine. This is me being incredibly pedantic, getting them slightly shorter. Wyatt says, can you use the HDZero board with the Emax HD goggles? If the Emax HD goggles are HDZero compatible, then absolutely. Cloudhopper says, just finished my Mobula 7 2S build, V4 frame, X12 Pro, RC and Power 1002 14,000s, BT3, 26.5 grams dry. Picture on Discord. Very cool. There it is. Mobula 6 canopy. No, that's Cloudhopper. Wait, what? Oh, that's an analog 2S build. Look at you. I still haven't done mine yet. I'm looking forward to that, though. That's awesome. Willie FPV says, thank you for sharing your perspective regarding the AIO5. I thought to change the Air65 to a new freestyle bind and fly from HDZero, but I had too many doubts. You're certainly welcome, man. For the record, if you guys can, if somebody can, I want to fly. I want to fly this. The AIO5 is amazing. I love the HDZero guys. Can someone help me? I need help. Somebody tell me why and where and when I should fly this. I just can't figure it out. The next thing that I might do, so the RC drift car place is changing location, so there's nowhere for me to go to chase RC drift cars at the moment. Once there is again, I think I'm going to convert this over into a front camera setup and go chase the RC drift cars with HDZero. Maybe that's it. This is definitely lighter than the walk snail RC drift car chasing setup, and that makes a big difference. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's what the magic of the AIO5 is. But yeah, and don't say racing. I don't race, and I will never race. Yeah, I never say never, but I don't like racing anymore. If I'm going to race, it's going to be in a car with seats and a steering wheel and tires and all that good stuff. And Yogi says, what's up? Willie says, unfortunately, camera from Air65 is very bad. What is your recommendation with different cameras? Most people, so I did a live stream last week comparing 8 different Tiny Whoop cameras. And pretty much everybody in chat's favorite camera is the CO3, which is the camera that's on the Air65. So if you think that your current camera is very bad, then your expectations are unfortunately just too high for a Tiny Whoop analog camera. And so, yeah, I mean, there are cameras that look different. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe there's just something about the CO3 that you just personally don't love. But yeah, most people are of the mind that that is one of the, if not the best analog Tiny Whoop super lightweight cameras. So yeah, I wish I could recommend, and I do personally think that the Runcam Nano 3 looks better, but it's been discontinued for a while now, and it's almost impossible to get your hands on. If anybody has a Runcam Nano 3 that they're looking to sell, I will absolutely buy it from you. Let me know. Yeah, I mean, go a couple streams back, and you can take a look at 7 other cameras to see if you like them better. The Newbie Drone BI was in there. Maybe you'll like that one. That's another super light one that a lot of people do like. The Caddx Ant is in that comparison. I've heard lots of people that like that camera outside. Inside, it kind of sucks. But there's a lot of people that like that outside. I don't understand why so many people love that camera outside. I don't think it's any better outside than it is inside. I don't think it's any better than the Runcam Nano 3 either. So yeah, there you go. I do have a couple more cameras that I'm going to test. I still have this little test rig sitting out on my desk. Yeah, I gotta find the time to do it. So there will be another camera test coming up where I take some of the cameras off of this rig and replace them. Limits20 says, try making the HDZero build as light as humanly possible. It kind of already is. Peak screws, I can't do that because they will absolutely break at the weight that this thing is. 30 AWG motor wire, the regular motor wire should be 30 gauge. It's super thin. I can't imagine that it's not. Light frame, it's on the Cockroach V3 frame. I would not want to put it on the light AF frame because of the extra weight of the camera and the board. If you can get it under 18 grams, I'm pretty sure you enjoy it as much as analog. I mean, I guess, but it's still more expensive. And in order to get this under 18 grams, I would have to really kill the durability. It would no longer be durable, and that doesn't do me any good. A rig that's not durable is a rig that I'm not going to fly hard, and then I'm really not going to want to fly it. So yeah, its current setup is really like realistically as light as I can get it. The screws, the short metal screws on these cockroach frames are almost no heavier than the peak screws. So yeah, I mean, realistically, in order to maintain any amount of durability, this is as light as it's going to get. I could take the ORT micro V antenna off of it. Actually, when I first built it, I did not have the micro V antenna on it. I had the super, super, super lightweight antenna. But that was causing HDZero to break up a lot more often, and the breakup is so jarring that it's well worth the 0.2 of a gram extra for a proper antenna on here. So yeah, like I've kind of got it as light as I can get it before I start sacrificing durability, and that's yeah, sort of the end. Cloudhopper with a $10 super chat for the healthcare fund. Thank you so much, brother. Very, very cool of you. 20 bucks goes to 30. Look at us go. Look at us go. By the way, the $2,000 number, that will change. Once I get on, hopefully, get on the Affordable Care Act, and they give me the monthly number, I'll do the actual calculation. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a lot more than $2,000, but I'm just taking a random guess. I think it's going to be closer to like $5,000, to be honest, but it might even be more than that, but we'll see. Thrash FPV says, I found RunCam Nano 3s online. Was there another version? No. Where the hell did you find those? If you're willing to share, rather than just buy them all, which is what I would do if I found them online. Curtis Hayes says, my mind wouldn't let it go. I went to Betaflight and found this. 0702 SE motor features brass bushings. 0702 motor bros ball bearings. So Champion has bearings and freestyle / race bushings. That's... Well, freestyle versus race was a KV difference. I swear to God, Betaflight had 2 versions of their 702. Maybe they replaced the bearing version with the Champion motor thing. So here's their 702. Really? You're going to pop that up every single time somebody goes to a new page? That's... an interesting. So there's the 702, and then there's the 702 SE. So the SE is the blue. They talk about it somewhere in here. Here we go. The SE is the brass bushings, and then the non-SE is the ball bearings. So this would be the ball bearing, but see, there's no number 2 on it. This motor on the Champion has a big Roman numeral 2. So yeah, my guess is that Roman numeral 2 is the new regular old 702, which has the bearings, which is great. This was dumb to have an 0702 and then an 0702 SE, and then you had to dig all the way in here to figure out what the hell the difference was. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I guess that's what they're doing. The regular 0702, the non-SE, they're now calling version 2 or something like that. So that's nice. That's a much better distinction. Did they? Wow! Every single time you open a new page, that's insane. They had so they just stamped a Roman numeral 2. This is the same motor that's on the Champ 0702 30,000 kV. And I guess maybe they made a change, but it's got the same bell design. It's just, yeah, got a Roman. It's the same coloring too, the black and red. So yeah, the Champ just has that regular 0702 bearing motor. Cool. Pito801 says, what could be the reason of motors unable to spin on a full HV battery? 1S Mobula 6 2024, 2G4 when it sags to 4.2, the motors start. Oh, man, I had this problem a while back with a newbie drone build, though. I think that was a newbie drone build. Try adjusting the... Try adjusting the... I have to plug this in anyway. because we're going to do a full Betaflight setup on it, so I'll show you. I don't think this is going to work, but it's worth a shot. I don't think I had a solution to that problem. I don't think I was ever able to make... to figure that out. That should not be the case. There's no reason that should happen. Oh man, I wish. I'm pretty sure it happened on a newbie drone build. And I'm pretty sure I sent it back to them. I sent the AIO back to them, so that they could take a look at it. But try this. This is the only thing that I can think of. Come in here to power and battery and change this maximum cell voltage. Move this all the way up to like 4.5 just to be sure. I don't like it at 4.35. I actually like it at 4.4. So yeah, try that. Try moving the maximum cell voltage up to 4.5. That'll make absolutely sure that a fully charged battery... it'll make sure that the AIO doesn't think that it's a 2S battery that's discharged all the way. But I don't think that's going to help the issue. When did that problem start is always the first place that you want to look on a troubleshoot. If it's a fresh build, you're screwed. But if the problem started when you bashed it into a metal bar at full speed, you probably physically damaged something, right? So always, the first step of troubleshooting is always to think back in time to when it started, when was the last time this thing flew and or flew decent. Wyatt says, I didn't realize you had Discord open, just sent over pictures of the frame still in prototyping. Final primary material will be 1mm carbon fiber. There it is. Wyatt, I'm not going to show it because you didn't specifically say that I could show it. Okay, yeah, so that frame has a good amount of obstruction. It looks like that's above. I can't tell when it's upside down, when it's right side up. It looks like the main obstruction is above. Those, since you said you're still in prototyping, I'm going to make a recommendation, which is going to be to take it from 4 main struts to 3. That pretty much all of the, so we call that style frame box frame. Pretty much all of the box frames that have been put into production only have the 3, I don't even know what to call these, standoffs, I guess, maybe. And yeah, the obstruction that these things add is really nasty. You're also doing a double on each. I don't know about that. That might be better, that might be worse. But what I can tell you is that none of the actual frame manufacturers have done doubles like that. They've all done a slightly thicker single. So maybe do that too. Maybe change it to a single. But I think definitely you can change it to 3 instead of 4. And that'll drop the amount of resistance down by what, 33%, I guess, would be the maths on that. So yeah, that's going to be my suggestion. That looks like a heavy-ass frame. For you to get 3 to 4 minutes, for sure you want to be 2S. It looks like you're already set up on XT30, and it looks like you're already on 2S. So I would maybe leave whatever batteries you're running now. That looks like maybe a 450 MAH 2S. Yeah, I don't think these Beta FPV 300s are going to cut it for what you're doing there. Definitely get some of the 1610 biblades though. That might give you some of the runtime back that you're sort of looking for. Very cool. Very cool design. Oh no, the battery is on the bottom. Okay, so you have those obstructions down below. Here's something. If that frame, if the top and the bottom plate of that frame are reversible, I guess it doesn't even need to be reversible. If that camera mount can go up and can give you up tilt and down tilt, boy would I love it if you could test that thing upside down and right side up. And this might be a really good test for your class, for the kids. Is it more efficient with those obstructions on the top or on the bottom? All of the math about propellers and high and low pressure zones says that you would want those obstructions to be in the high pressure zone, and that the low pressure zone up above is more important to be obstruction free. But what Ryan Harrell, who was working with Lumineer and GetFPV, found on that frame that I just showed you is that when they invert, he initially designed it to have those supports be on the bottom because that's what all the aerodynamics says and propeller, info. When they flipped it and he put those obstructions on the top, supposedly it got 20% more efficient, which is hysterical because, we talk a lot about with quads that like they're a very unique aerodynamic situation. That is a perfect example of that. There are inherent problems with having the obstructions up above, like when you land on anything other than a completely flat surface, having nothing below the prop. If like anything goes up into the propeller or won't spin, you can't take back off. So I still hate builds that have the supports on the top. But yeah, that could be an interesting little test for you. And or if you're struggling for runtime, that could be a way of gaining 20% more runtime is to flip that thing upside down. But yeah, there you go. That's me being a little selfish because I want to know. I've never done that. It's not super hard to do it with that frame. I've just never taken the time to actually do it. But yeah, that could be a cool thing. I would love to hear feedback on that. Simon says, Levster says, hey dude. Simon says, my Betaflight 702s have DBB? Double ball bearings in the red at 30,000 kV. Yep, that's what we just saw on the site. Right. No, that is bushings. The Air65 does come with bushings because the motors are blue and silver. So yeah, that is bushings. It's the red and black motors that have the bearings. My blue are definitely bushings, available in 23, 25, and 27. Love my 30s, have a great luck with them. I know others haven't, though. Really? I haven't heard many complaints. I don't know how to pronounce that. ARACRG says, have a quick look at the Kayou Mini. I think you'll like it. Made in France, no U.S. sellers yet, so maybe you'll want to. I don't have any money, man. I don't have any way of buying a bunch of stuff and selling it. I have heard of and looked at the Kayou Mini before. This is a non-ducted, either 1.6, I think it's a 1.6, it might be a 2-inch rig. I haven't really dove into those. It's a school bus style, so it pushes the camera forward, which I actually really like. Yeah, super interesting rig. I haven't really gotten into those yet. I really like the protection that these ducts give you, when bumping into stuff. And with these smaller rigs, I find myself bumping into stuff a lot because I fly them very small and I shoot like impossibly small gaps with them. And also from a standpoint of when I crash a rig like this, a lot of times this frame will keep the blades of grass out of the way and then I can actually take it back off versus the non-guarded tiny little rigs. Every single time I crash them, I have to take the walk of shame, which just gets really old really fast. Admittedly, I am spoiled flying rigs like this that I can take off over and over and over again, but the non-guarded rigs, they don't fly that much better. And like, if I'm going to fly something like that, it's going to be a 3-inch rig or a 2.5-inch, like big power, beefy, gnarly rig that I can like put up and rail around the neighborhood and stuff. By the way, at the beginning of the live stream, that was me flying a 5-inch analog rig with no HD cam on it. Just to test it and to get it ready for potentially what shit that I've got cooking. So yeah, it was hysterical to fly a 5-inch rig out in front of the house. The way that it shrinks the world is just outrageous. Like I'm very used to like even like 3-inch powerful rigs. They do not shrink the world that we live in like a 5-inch rig. So that was hysterical. I was being very light on the throttle because I didn't want to piss all the neighbors off, so I wasn't like really hammering on it. But like the 1 or 2 times that I blipped the throttle and it would just hurtle up into the sky, it's like, yeah, okay, right. Why it says primary obstruction is on the bottom, motors are not inverted. Gotcha. I had a funny feeling once I finally saw the antenna sticking out the top. I thought maybe you had that battery mounted on the top, but yeah, no, you wouldn't have the antenna mounted on the bottom. Kino Zadello says, is there any difference between throttle limit and motor output limit? Massive difference. I'm asking because usually I use a potentiometer to cut my throttle and it's faster to set up. In the PIDs tab, and that's how you can remember this, in the PIDs tab, the motor limiting limits the PIDs as well. So the motor limiting, for all intents and purposes, lowers the kV of the motor itself because it brings everything down. The throttle limiting, or just having it on a potentiometer on your transmitter, only changes the throttle output. So if you take mega kV motors and you put them on a voltage that's too high, having a throttle limit, your PID loop will still be able to ask for an obscene amount of power from those motors and very easily cook your ESC. If you're just looking to go from like 100% to 95%, you're good. You don't really need to do the motor limiting. It's a little bit safer to do the motor limiting, but yeah. If you're motor limiting, if you're wanting to go down by like 60%, you want motor limiting. If you're throttle limiting by 60%, your PID loop is going to have access to a horrendous amount of power. And yeah, like I said, it can easily blow your ESC up. Caught up on chat. Here we go. Diving into a full Betaflight setup on this little iFlight Blitz rig that is already spoken for. This was gonna end up on the Etsy store, but somebody has pre-bought it before anybody else can get a crack at it. All right, so we are already on Betaflight 4.5.1, which is awesome. First thing, I like to try to run this top to bottom. The order that the Betaflight devs have put these in is pretty damn good. So first things first is in the setup tab, we're going to calibrate the accelerometer, or maybe we can accelerate the calibrometer if I can ever get the t-shirts made. But the first thing, well, let's calibrate. It doesn't really matter what order you do this in. And since it's sitting on its side like this, it'll be hard for me to show you. I would actually recommend doing this in the other order. The very first thing you want to do every single time you plug a rig in is take it and go nose down, nose up, roll left, roll right, yaw left, yaw right. And make sure that what you're doing in real life matches what's in Betaflight. Then set it down flat on the desk. With the USB plugged in, that's kind of a pain in the ass. But if this is the edge of my desk, what I do is just hang it off the back, and then I just push down on the front. And that'll get it flat enough on your desk. It doesn't need to be perfect. You just want to get the calibration done, right? So hang it off your desk, calibrate the accelerometer. Now you're done in the setup tab. There's really nothing else of super interest in here. Ports tab. AIOs from Tiny Whoops should be good to go. In this case, I'm seeing that UART1 is already set up with VTX TBS Smart Audio. This AIO has the VTX built in. Good to go. Islander FPV says, you recently saved me from buying the wrong drill bits for my props. I went ahead and joined the $5 Patreon. Thank you for fighting the good whoop fight. You're certainly welcome. How much money? If you're not on my Patreon, be real. How much money have I saved you? Hook a brother up with like 50% of that money. Join my Patreon. What do you think of that? I pushed the wrong button. So yeah, with an AIO, the ports tab should be pretty much all set up and good to go. If it's an individual flight controller and ESC, individual flight controllers almost never have the receiver built in. So you're going to need to take a look at which UART on your flight controller you have soldered the receiver up to, and then you're going to hit this serial RX for that appropriately numbered UART. And then you're going to want to take a look at which UART you've wired up your VTX to. And then you're going to want in the peripherals here to set that on the appropriate numbered UART. And you need to know what it is. If it's an analog VTX that's on the Tramp protocol, you're going to use this IRC Tramp one. If it's a digital VTX, you're going to use this MSP plus DisplayPort. If it's a VTX that uses the TBS Smart Audio protocol, you're going to set that up here. But with Tiny Whoops and with AIOs where this shit is built in, don't touch this unless you have to. It should be pre-configured. That's the ports tab. Configuration tab, fun things happen. The first thing you want to look at is what your default gyro update frequency is set at. This is going to tell you what gyro it is. In this case, 3.2 means that it's a BMI 270 gyro. We're going to need to know that for later. Your PID loop frequency, you almost always want to just match it up with whatever the gyro update frequency is. Sometimes if it's an 8K gyro, you might need to run 4K PID loop frequency. In this case, that's not an option because the BMI 270 gyro just doesn't work that way. That's not divisible by 3.2. But yeah, your PID loop frequency is either going to be 4K or 8K. The easy button is if it's an F4 processor, run it at 4K. If it's a F7 processor, you can run it at 8K. If it's a BMI gyro and it's set to 3.2, leave it on 3.2. Accelerometer should be on. Barometer and magnetometer should almost always be off. If you don't know what these are, they should be off. If you know what they are, then you'll know whether or not to turn them on. Craft name, whatever. FPV camera angle in degrees should always be zeroed, for the love of God. Some of these manufacturers set this to like 20 or 30. Turn that shit off. This is going to attempt to mix roll and yaw. It's terrible. Turn this shit off. 0 FPV camera angle. Maximum arming angle is a safety feature. On a big, angry, dangerous rig, maybe leave this at like 30 or 20 or 40 degrees. What this will do is it will not let you arm it if it is more than the degrees that are set. So if I set this to 1 degree, right, it will not allow me to arm this rig unless it is sitting perfectly flat. If any of the, if either the pitch or the roll are off by 1 degree, it will not let me arm it. So don't set it to 1, set it to like 20 or 30 if you want a little bit of extra safety, because that's pretty good. You kind of should not be arming an angry, dangerous rig if it's like sat up like this at like 31 degrees. So this is a nice little safety feature. I mean, if you're flying a big angry rig, you should be pretty careful about it. Setting this to 180 turns it off. And the main reason that I set this to 180 is that if I get this thing stuck in a tree and it's hanging from a tree like this and I disarm it, I will not be able to rearm it. At that point, you can go to Google Images and search for Betaflight stick commands, and you can take a look. There is a stick command to recalibrate your accelerometer, and you can recalibrate the accelerometer with it sitting at this weird angle, and then it'll think that it's at 0 degrees, and then you can arm it and it'll allow you to arm it, so you're not totally screwed. Or you can set it to 180 and turn it off. That's what I do. If you're going to turn this off, you better have some like mental checks and balances in place to make sure that you don't arm this thing in a weird situation and hurt somebody. That's all I'm going to say. If you're a new pilot, your first year, let's say, flying 5-inch rigs, maybe leave this set to 30. Because, again, you're not totally screwed if you get it hung up in a weird position. You can still fix it. You're going to have to do a quick Google search, but yeah. Air mode permanently enabled is a great idea. There's not a whole hell of a lot of cases where you'll want to turn air mode off. If you know about that, you'll know. If you're going to turn that off, you should know why you're turning it off. You shouldn't just be turning off because you saw somebody on the internet do it. On-screen display is almost always going to be on as well, and that's pretty much it. Off on the right here, these are where if you have your AIO or your flight controller rotated in a weird orientation or flipped upside down, this is where you're going to have to adjust that. That first check that we did on the setup tab is going to show that. If you take it and you go nose down and it goes nose up, this is where you're going to need to fix that. If you rotate it left and it rotates right, this is where you're going to need to fix that. So that's these top ones right here. Roll, pitch, and yaw, board sensor alignment. I'm skipping the things that I never use, for the record. D-Shot beacon configuration. This is your ESC beeper. This is really important. Make sure you turn these two on. This allows you to use your motors and your ESC as a beeper to find the damn thing when it's lost. So make sure that these are turned on pretty much every single rig as far as I'm concerned. And then the beeper configuration, this stuff is all pretty much always going to be on. I don't think I made any changes, but I'll save and reboot anyway. There's the setup, ports, and configuration tab done. Power and battery should be set properly. Sometimes on Tiny Whoops, you might want to move these minimum and warning cell voltages up and down a little bit. The maximum cell voltage, if you're going to run high volt batteries, make sure it's set to 4.4 or 4.5. If you overcharge the default setting is 4.35. If you accidentally overcharge a battery to 4.36 volts, this is going to think it's a 2S because you've told it that the maximum cell voltage is 4.35, so if it sees that it's above that, it's going to think it's a 2S. That's no good. Easy button is to move this up to 4.4, maybe even 4.5. Minimum cell voltage and warning cell voltage, these are what trigger the low battery and land now warnings in your OSD. I forget what I set these at. Don't I set these a little bit lower? I think I set these a little bit lower. I think I set these at 3.3 and 3.1. This is on you. This is a great way of controlling how high or low you fly your battery to. So again, the warning cell voltage is going to be when it starts to say battery low, and then the minimum cell voltage is going to be when it says land now. So you can adjust these up and down so that you land at the perfect point so that your battery bounces back to storage voltage if you're like me, or if you want to get a little bit more life out of the battery, if you want to get a little bit more runtime, I should say, you can lower these down a little bit more, and that'll naturally make you fly the battery lower. Voltage meter and amperage meter, they should be set properly. An easy way to check that, well, there is no easy way to check that on 1S, but if you need to change these, good luck. There's probably YouTube videos on how to change them. The 1S is tough to get these dialed in. One of the easier ways to get the amperage meter dialed in is to fly a battery and then look in the OSD at how many milliamps Betaflight thinks you took out of that battery. If that's a 300 mAh battery and it thinks you took 299 milliamps out of it, your amperage meter scale is perfect. If those numbers are wrong, if it thinks you took 10,000 milliamp out of a 300 milliamp battery, you're going to need to change this scale. What I do is I'll just guess. I'll change it from 400 to 200, and I'll see what an effect that has. If it went in the right direction, I'll go down to 100 and just keep going like that. That's the easiest way to do it. On a 1S battery, the voltage meter is a bitch to get set properly. I don't really know how to do it other than making a battery connector that you splice multimeter into. But on everything else, all you have to do is hook the battery up, hook this up to Betaflight, look at what this number is, and then hook a battery checker up to the balance lead on the battery. That'll tell you currently what the voltage is on the battery, and just move this scale up and down until this number here matches up with what the cell checker is reading that's connected to the balance lead. Failsafe on everything but a Tiny Whoop you should leave alone. Since it's a Tiny Whoop, this is the amount of delay between the quad losing signal and freezing the last command that you gave it to the point where it chops the throttle and falls out of the air. The default setting is 1.5 seconds, which is about perfect for anything that's open prop or even remotely dangerous. For a tiny whoop, it's not going to hurt anybody. I don't care. So I double that and I give it 3 full seconds. What I've also found is that I fly so smooth on the sticks that 1.5 seconds is not long enough for me to even notice that it's frozen. I try to move the sticks and leave them in the same position for as long as possible. And apparently I do that for a lot longer than 1.5 seconds. So previously, I actually changed this to 3 seconds on a lot of different rigs, not on 5-inch rigs, but on like my Cinewhoops, I have this at 3 seconds. Because 3 seconds, I will have moved the sticks. And if I move the sticks and there's no response from the quad, now I know that it's in failsafe, and I can lift the transmitter up above my head or do any number of other things to try to get that connection back. But like I said, out of safety, 1.5 seconds is about right. But there you go. That's what that period of time in stage 1 failsafe after lost seconds stands for. And controls. Presets kind of depend. This is a rig that's on a BMI 270 gyro. Brandon's Baked Beans has a really good filtering setup for BMI gyros that is based around this. Well, here, let me just give you the... All right, so if you're on Express LRS, you are going to use a preset. They are really good. Figure out what loop time you're on. In my case, I'm on 250. And into the little search here, right, there's a super useful little search field. Type 250. Or if you're on 100, type 100. Oh, look, there isn't one for 100. If you're on 100, bump it up to 250. If you're on 500, bang, Express LRS 500. For me, it's 250. We've got this beautiful CT Snooze created thing for ELRS 250. Pop it open, come in here to options. This is important. If you want ultra smoothness, here you go. There's going to be delay, but your footage is going to look ultra buttery. A little bit less delay, a little bit less delay, a little bit less delay, practically no delay. Practically no smoothing, a little bit more smoothing, a little bit more smoothing, a little bit more smoothing, maximum smoothing. For me, I go right in the middle, HD freestyle. I don't do any of the rest of this stuff. You do not have to do any of the rest of this stuff. So pick one of these options, come out of here, click pick, and then click save and reboot. It's going to apply the changes that are in that preset. All it's actually doing is dumping CLI commands into it. You can do all that stuff in the CLI, but this is a little bit slicker than that. If you're running a BMI 270 gyro, click search for clean, and you're going to have a couple of different options. 4.5 filter settings for clean build with RPM filtering, clean build with no RPM filtering, very clean build without RPM filtering, very clean build with RPM filtering. These 4 are awesome. In this case, I am using RPM filtering, and it is a somewhat clean build. It's not a very clean build. It actually probably is a very clean build, but I would rather have a little bit of extra filtering. So we're going to click this. This is for BMI 2. Well, I mean, this will also work. This will work on all gyros, come to think of it. But this is the baseline that Brandon's Baked Beans loves for the BMI 270 gyros. Fainting Goat with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, brother. He says, showed up late. I'll watch this on replay. Thanks for always being the dude. Thank you, brother. Very cool of you. Thank you for allowing me to be the dude. So there we go. 4.5 clean build with RPM filtering. Pick it. Save and reboot. Here are the other 2 pieces. I'm going to just dive straight into this. Here are the other 2 pieces of Brandon's magical BMI 270 filtering setup. Where the hell is it? Here it is, down the bottom. I'm just going to take you right through this. This works on most... Brandon puts this on pretty much everything other than giant Cinelifters that have BMI 270 gyros. That's the first thing that you do right there. 4.5 filter settings for clean preset, either with or without RPM filtering, depending on what you're doing. Then you're going to come to the PID tuning tab. And you're going to go to filter settings, and you're going to turn off this gyro filter slider so that you can, it's probably going to have both of these turned on. You're going to turn off gyro low pass 1. You're going to turn on gyro low pass 2. It's probably already on. For this static cutoff frequency, you're going to change it to, where is it? 135. This is going to change in Betaflight 4.6 for the record, but 4.5, 4.4, 4.3, you're going to change this to 135, and then you're going to change the filter type from PT1 to PT2. Now you're going to come down here to the gyro RPM filter if you're using it. You're going to bring the harmonics down to 1 single harmonic. Something that I'm trying out that I've had good luck with recently is moving the minimum frequency to 150. Try that at your own risk. You're safer to leave it at 100. And then the dynamic notch filter you can leave alone. I like to change this max frequency up a little bit. And then again, I'm messing around with changing this minimum frequency on Tiny Whoops to 150. It's a subtle thing. I'm also going to bump this Q factor up. But again, this is me just kind of changing things. I'm going to now turn this D-term. This is outside of that. You can leave this D-term filter alone. For me, I've had really good luck turning this on and moving it up a little bit on these Tiny Whoops. I'm going to move the slider up to 1.4. Usually I'm able to push it even farther than that, but I'm going to leave this kind of chilled out. Those are 3 of the 4 things that you need to do on a BMI 270 gyro. The last thing is kind of a pain in the ass. You got to do it in the CLI. And I am just going to drop into the chat exactly what it is. Let me zoom so that anybody that doesn't have access to the chat can see. Type set, and I'm copying this. Oh, I already have it in there. From my clipboard. Set space gyro underscore hardware underscore LPF space equals space option underscore 2. You're going to hit enter. It's going to make that change, and now you have to type save, S-A-V-E, and now it has saved that change. That is the full Brandon's Baked Magical Unicorn Beans BMI 270 gyro setup for you. I've found that it works beautiful, and you can use it on anything. So we've done setup, ports, configuration, power and battery, failsafe, presets, and we're diving into PID tuning. Now, on this first PID tuning PID profile settings tab, for a new build, leave it the hell alone. Don't make any changes. I've done so many builds that I can kind of look at what motors, look at what propellers, look at what all-up weight it's going to be, and adjust some of these things. I'm going to set these to like sort of my generic first pass settings, which are going to be 1.2, 1.0, 0.5, 1.2. I'm using more drift wobble nowadays. 1.1, 1.1, 1.1, 1. This is what I do on a first pass. It's low feed forward, which gives you some nice stick smoothing. Racers will hate this. It's slightly more D gain, but no more P&I gain. Stock P&I gain values, a little bit of extra D gain. Dynamic damping D-Max, I love what D-Max does. I make it pretty aggressive. Drift wobble, it's just a little bit of extra I gain. Most rigs have more weight on the pitch axis than the roll axis. So these two bump the pitch PID gains up a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. 1.1, 1.1. Master multiplier raises everything. I don't want to raise everything yet, so I leave it at 1.0. That's the majority of what you want to do. That will make a very subtle difference. The easy button is to run these all right down the middle at 1.0. Fly the thing around. It's probably going to fly pretty damn good. If it doesn't, now you can start screwing around with stuff. Justin Muller didn't tag me, but I just happened to see it. He says, can you explain dynamic damping? Dynamic damping basically dynamically moves the D gain up and down. It moves it up when you need it. It brings it down when you don't. When you're just flat cruising, it's going to lower the D gain. it's going to lower it down to where it would be at 0. So if you zero out the dynamic damping, then when you're cruising along, nothing is going to be different. By running dynamic damping, what it does is when you put the rig into a situation where it encounters prop wash or basically goes off set point, going off set point means that it's not doing, it's doing something that you don't want it to do. And that's when you want degain. You don't really want degain when it's just cruising along. When it's just cruising along, the lower the degain, the less the motor heat, the more efficient the rig is. So only when you get it into a situation where it's in prop wash or it's off set point does it boost the degain up. And again, that's really where you want that extra degain. So by running the dynamic damping more aggressive, it's going to add additional degain when it's in prop wash when you want it the most. And so you get cooler motors when you're just cruising and it doesn't need degain. And then you get more degain when it really needs that extra degain. A lot of folks are turning this off and then just making the tune more aggressive so that it always has more degain. This leads to more motor heat and less efficiency. And what you want to understand is if you run the dynamic damping, that if you've got, like, it can actually cause extra problems. Like, if you're going to run the dynamic damping, you should have some understanding of what it is, so that if it's causing problems, you can notice those problems and know what to look for. So, like, I've actually not really had that happen. And so I recommend that you run it. But yeah, as soon as you start troubleshooting stuff, like if you're having PID tuning weirdness, turn off the dynamic damping because it's moving your degain all around. And if you're having a problem that you're trying to solve, that's going to make it harder for you. So like if you know what degain does, and all you really need to do to learn what degain does is grab the damping slider and move it down a bunch and fly your rig, and then move it up a bunch and fly your rig, and you'll pretty quickly be able to see and feel what degain does. Once you know what degain does, you can run the dynamic damping because you know what it looks like, you know what it feels like, and if you've got a weird tuning situation where sometimes it feels like it has too much degain and sometimes it feels like it has too little degain, there you go. Hey, I got my dynamic damping turned on. Got it. That's my problem. I want to turn that down a little bit. So yeah, that's as simple as I can make the dynamic damping. I could talk for another half an hour about it, but I would lose pretty much everybody. When you're dialing in a tune, turn the dynamic damping all the way off. Get the tune dialed in, and then turn it back up and see how it is with it turned back up. You'll probably like it. You might not. If you're going to spend a lot of time in black box, turn the dynamic damping off because it's going to drive you nuts because it doesn't... I assume that there's a way of having a graph that shows you what the dynamic damping is doing, but it's certainly not going to be turned on by default. And if you're just trying to go in there really quick, it could drive you nuts because the degain is going to be moving up and down. And if you don't realize that you've got dynamic damping on, that could make you chase your tail on a bunch of stuff. So, yeah. Ramdongo says, my 65X won't calibrate. The pitch keeps moving and twitch by 2 to 5 degrees every time I calibrate. Can I switch something off? Bad unprotected flight controller. When did it start? Whenever that behavior started, that's going to clue you in as to what the hell's going on. If that started at random, it's probably a physical component that's shitting the bed, more than likely your gyro. Gyros fail an awful lot on these things. So yeah, go back in time and think about when that started, and that'll be your biggest clue as to how to troubleshoot it. Here's where you can adjust your motor output limit. On a 1S rig, you want the dynamic idle value to be 0. On 2S and above, you want to use this dynamic idle value. It's awesome. A really good round number to get started at that actually works damn near perfect on most rigs is 30. But on 1S rigs, apparently this can blow up ESCs. So turn it off and use the regular idle. VBAT sag compensation, I've kind of fallen in love with. I run that at 100%. It's going to limit the voltage a little bit at the beginning of the battery, and it's going to give you 100% voltage at the end of the battery. So through the course of the battery, it's going to feel like there's just going to be, you're going to feel less sag. Thrust linearization, I like it at 10. The default is 20. That's a little bit too much. This boosts the PIDs at 0 throttle, and then it rolls that off towards full throttle. The PIDs do need a little bit of boosting at 0 throttle typically. I think 20% is a little bit too aggressive. I really like 10%. Throttle boost, some people hate it, some people love it. It's feed forward for the throttle. I don't really notice it typically. The dynamic damping, I like to set these gain and advances at 30. The default settings are totally fine. They're kind of wacky numbers, but yeah, the default settings on dynamic damping are totally fine. Changing these to 30 is a very tiny change. It just makes my OCD feel better. Anti-gravity, leave it alone. iTerm relax for freestyle, you want to set this to 10 or maybe even 5. I find 10 is a good value. For racing, you want this at 15, which is the default value. That's the PIDs tab, my friends. Rates are unique to you. You can try mine. You're probably going to hate them. Don't use someone else's rates for long. Use them to see if maybe it feels different and just, yeah. But dial in your own rates. The center sensitivity is how sensitive it is in the center of the stick. The max rate is how much rotation you get at the end of the stick travel. Expo is everything in between. One of the really nice ways to kind of dial this in is to take one of these values and change it drastically, and you will see what it does. You can even connect your transmitter and move the stick around, and this little round bastard will move around on this graph. Here's where your throttle mid and your throttle expo are. If you want to start screwing around with those, go to my channel, search for throttle expo. There's an entire live stream about it. You need to understand it if you're going to use it. If you're not willing to spend 45 minutes to an hour watching me explain this top to bottom, do not use it. Set the throttle expo to 0. If you don't understand it, it will almost certainly make your situation significantly worse rather than significantly better. Either learn about it and use it, or if you're not willing to put the time in, don't use it. It'll just, I can almost guarantee you that it will make your throttle resolution significantly worse. These are sort of my best guesses. I will dial this in once this thing is in the air. I don't think I made any changes, but I always click the save button. And we already talked about the filters. Filters are a whole different kind of thing, but I gave you a look at what I'm going to do on this build. Receiver tab. UART for AIOs that are UART based or regular flight controllers. SPI for AIOs that are SPI. In this case, I assume that this is UART. This is usually set properly when you flash the firmware. Ram Douglas says, how high can Throttle Expo go? It can go all the way up to 1.0, which is a lot. Limits 20 says, please don't forget to explain crash recovery. If I don't do it right now, I will absolutely forget. So crash recovery is only available in the CLI. So you're going to come on in here, and you're going to type get crash. And this is going to give you all of this stuff. But that's okay. This is easy to remember. Get crash. Enter. This is now going to show you every single thing in the CLI that has crash at the beginning of it. So crash flip, crash D threshold, crash G threshold, crash set point threshold, yada, 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 yada. In this case, crash recovery, the very last one is whether or not crash recovery is on or off. Apparently, I've already been in here screwing around with things because it's already on. By default, as it says down here, it is off. And that's okay. Crash recovery is an interesting thing. It's not something that you can just turn on and it'll work perfectly. You have to turn it on, and then you have to dial it in. I'm going to put in the chat my crash recovery settings real quick here because they work pretty damn good. So for most people, especially with tiny whoops, in the chat is, and I might as well show it. Nope. I might as well show it for in case YouTube screws up, as they have a terrible tendency to, and they don't include the chat. This is the tuning that I have done. So there's turning it on, but then this is the tuning that I have done to get it to not activate too frequently, but to activate often enough. These are dialed in for the way that I fly, how hard I crash, and how quickly I want it to fix and get back to zero, get back to level. If you do not set your if you do not calibrate your accelerometer, don't run crash recovery. But like, you only really have to calibrate your accelerometer once, and then you're usually fine. But you should do it every once in a while. So yeah, these settings work pretty goddamn good on most rigs. I've been putting this onto everything at this point. 5-inch rigs, Cinewhoops. It's really, really cool. What it does is the set crash G threshold, I have it set at 600. What that means is 6G. If I hit something hard enough to generate 6G or more, it turns on crash recovery. What that does is it very quickly turns on the accelerometer and finds level, and then it turns it right back off. The set crash D threshold takes a look at the D-gain values, and it's the same deal. If the D-gain values go above your threshold, it triggers crash recovery, and it gets it to center. The set point threshold, set point 500. I actually forget what the set point threshold is. It might be how aggressive. No, that's the recovery rate. The recovery rate is how quickly it snaps back to level. So if you want it to slowly snap back, you can lower that number. I have it pretty high. I have it like really snap itself to zero, because for me, if I'm already crashing and hitting something, I want it to level me out instantly so that I can have up be up and down be down, so that I can hopefully avoid the ping pong of, you know, it hitting one thing, bouncing. Cool. Crash recovery is awesome. On Betaflight's wiki, there is a fantastic. If you search Google for Betaflight wiki, let's try this, crash recovery. I wonder if it'll find it. I think this is it. Yaw spin recovery is not the same thing. It is super interesting. I actually don't use it, but it is super interesting. I find that the default settings are totally fine. All right, so this is not going to bring you straight to it. Well, click this, and then top right corner is search. Search for crash recovery. Hey, look at that. Cool. So there you go. Google search Betaflight wiki crash recovery. Click the first link, top right corner for the search. Search for crash recovery. Read this. Read this whole section. It'll take you 10 minutes, and it breaks it all down for you. Crash recovery rate. Okay, yeah, I was right about crash recovery rate. I forget what that set point threshold is, but I know that I dialed it in and I liked where I ended up. There you guys go. There's crash recovery. It's awesome. Crash recovery, it will save you way more often than when it hurts you. Every once in a while, you'll crash into something just a little bit. This happens when I hit the ground sometimes. I'll hit the ground hard enough. It'll trigger crash recovery. Sometimes it'll get a little bit confused, and it pauses. And in that moment, I'll be trying to make the correction. Crash recovery will get a little bit confused, and it'll kind of freeze me, and I'm locked out. And sometimes it'll like, and it'll hit something else, and it's like, oh damn it! that happens super infrequently, like 10 times more often. You hit something, it turns on, perfectly levels you, and you real quick look around, find where you're at, and fly the hell away. It is so nice. It is so nice. Crash recovery for flying hard inside the house is damn near a requirement. Cool. There's crash recovery. Where were we? Were we done PID tuning tab? Now we're into the receiver tab. CLI, of course, needs to reboot us. Receiver tab, we talked about these two. Your channel map depends on your transmitter. I can't help you with that. Usually you're going to be AETR or TAER. You know this already. Your stick low threshold and your stick high threshold do depend on your transmitter. What I do is get it. Well, you know, I'm probably not bound up, so I need to get this bound anyway. Well, let's just do it. Let's get it bound. So we're going to click Bind Receiver. And then on my module here, I'm going to go into the menu and go to Bind Mode. Press to send binding request. It's binding. It's on Betaflight 4.5, so it is on ELRS 3.0, which is what this is also on. And it won't bind. Sometimes the Bind Receiver button in Betaflight does not work. I'm just going to try it again just to be sure. Not working. All right, so this particular AIO has a different binding process. It might just be plug it in 3 times. Let's try that real quick. So we've got, I'll do it with a battery, what the hell. Plug it in once, unplug it, twice, unplug it, 3 times. In theory, it's now in bind mode. Come into your module, go up to bind mode, press to send binding request. I'll do it one more time just in case. All right, cool. It might be bound now. If this doesn't work, there's probably a bind button on it, which I'll have to look up where it is. If all of that doesn't work, then it might be SPI and you have that set to UART or vice versa. So transmitter is on. In theory, it's now bound. Plugged it into USB, connect. Come in here to receiver and see if the sticks are moving, which they are not. Let's really quickly switch it from serial to SPI. Why don't I have a binding phrase option? Shouldn't I have a binding phrase option in here? At this point, the easy thing is to look up the AIO, the flight controller, and see what it is, SPI versus serial UART. Hold on. All right, so let's switch this over and see. Usually they're correct. Usually it's set. Hey, there it is. Putting in your binding phrase, saving and rebooting should instantly bind it. So let's see. Hey, look at that. All right, so there you go. This, for whatever reason, this AIO's specific target in Betaflight has that set incorrectly. That's kind of insane, but I've seen that happen before. So yeah, look it up. Look up your AIO, see if it's SPI or UART, and away you go. If it's SPI, you're going to change this to Express LRS, and then save and reboot, and then you'll be able to type your binding phrase in. For your stick low and your stick high thresholds, this is what I was getting at. Here's how you set them. Get your shit bound. Take both of your sticks and go into the bottom left corner and look at what the highest number is. I have to do this with one hand. Look at what the highest number is. See how my highest number... Oh, this yaw. I need to replace this gimbal. This gimbal is messed up. See it moving all over the place? I got to replace this left gimbal bad. But 1003, 1004, 1005, 1003, 1004, 1005. You then set your stick low threshold a little bit above what that number was. Thus my having it 1010. And then you take the sticks and you go into the upper right corner and you look at what your lowest number is. In this case, it's 1990, 1991 on the throttle. Why is the throttle coming in? This left gimbal is jacked up. 1991, 1992, The yaw is now down at 1980. The yaw is bad on this gimbal. Normally, they come in at like 2000, 1999, and so then your stick high threshold, you want it to be a little bit lower. Technically speaking, right now, I should set this, I'm going to do it, screw it. I'm going to set this stick high threshold at 1980 because I've got this yaw misbehaving, only showing me 1985, 6, whatever. There you go. Deadband, I like a value of 4. The fresher your transmitter is, the lower you can set this, but man, 4, like, it is hard to move the stick a minuscule enough amount to only get a reaction of 4. Watch the throttle. The throttle is the smoothest. I'm going to move the throttle the minimum that I possibly can. All right, so watch this 990. I'm going to move this. Well, I'm going to bump it up here. Oh, now it's going to jitter. I'm going to move it as little as I can. Ready? 1300. It went up to 1312. That's as minimum as I can move it. Let me try it with roll. Ready? The minimum roll, 1500. See that? That's the minimum. Oh boy, that was a lot. So it looks like a value of 10 is the absolute minimum that I can possibly put in there. So by adding 4 points of deadband, you're totally safe. You're never going to move the stick only 4 points of resolution. So having that deadband in the middle. What the deadband in the middle is see all this jitter? It's not going to do anything from that jitter. The yaw is awful jittery, but there we go. It removes that jitter. When you're flying dead straight, you don't want it to be jittering at all. So the deadband is really important. I find the value of 4 is like perfect. Not too much, not too little. And then the RC smoothing down the bottom here, that's driven from that preset that you put in. You don't really need to touch that. Modes, these are pretty specific for each and every one of you. This is my mode setup. Don't use my mode setup. Figure out your own wherever you want your switches to be. That's totally cool. Launch control is fun. The switch position has to be turned on when you arm, and then launch control will be active. As soon as you raise the throttle, it'll turn launch control off. It's very fun. I have it on aux 2. That's the switch that controls horizon or acro mode. I don't use it all the time, but it's very fun. If you've never played around with launch control, do it. Put it on a secondary switch that you don't use a lot. Put it into whatever that switch position is. Arm it. It'll be in launch control. With your right thumbstick, you can tilt the thing forward and it'll freeze. Backward, it'll freeze. Left, it's very fun. Try it. Adjustments is where I do my wacky OSD profile thing. I could talk for a half an hour about this, but this is how I do it. Turn it on, aux 2, full range, OSD profile selection, aux 2. Then, in the OSD menu, you have to set it so that those 3 switch positions that you've just told it, 1, 2, and 3, correspond with 1, 2, and 3. So for me, switch positions 1 and 2 have my full OSD. Switch position number 3 has only warnings. See that? So switch position 3 has no OSD other than warnings. Switch positions 1 and 2 have full OSD. You can take that a step farther and have like switch position 1 be full OSD, 2 be half OSD, 3 be warnings out only. What's cool about this is with an analog rig, I can have a clean DVR, but still get low battery warnings. And it only flashes that OSD up towards the end of the battery. There you go. Motors tab. I'm not going to dive super hard into this. Props in versus props out right here. In this case, we are props in, which is that. Motor direction, reorder motors. They're pretty self-explanatory. D-Shot 300 on F4 processors. D-Shot 600 on F7s. Bidirectional D-shot is fantastic, and you should use it if you possibly can. Motor poles, 12 for tiny little motors, 14 for big-ass motors. You can count the number of magnets, as it says right here. Number of magnets on the motor bell. No excuses to getting this wrong. Motor idle is all the way up at 10. That's a bit much. I'm going to bring that down to 8. I actually like to have that set at 5.5 to 6, but this is a 75mm rig, so we'll leave it turned up a little bit. And that's about it there. Oh my God, it's after 5 o'clock already. Jesus. Fuck. I'm not gonna have time to. I do want to fly this, but I'm so sorry for anybody that specifically came to watch this, but it's got to go. Sorry, guys. We'll do that on Wednesday if you remind me. OSD tab, there's all kinds of stuff. Just play around with the OSD tab. There's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with these post-flight statistics. G-force maximum is a fun one. Link quality minimum is a good one. ESC temperature maximum is a good one. ESC RPM maximum is a really good one. Battery voltage minimum. Battery voltage, which is the current battery voltage. MAH used. Battery current draw maximum. These are all really, really nice to have in your post-flight stats. Make sure you have the video format set properly. Video transmitter. You can dial in your channel if you always fly the same channel. For me, it's Raceband 8. Dial in your power as a starting point. Low power disarm should either be off or on until first arm. If you set this to on and you get stuck in a tree and you disarm, you're going to lose video. It's silly to have this set to on. On until first arm, when you first plug the thing in, it's going to run at pit mode to keep the VTX nice and cool, and then as soon as you arm it, it's going to move up to whatever value you have in here. VTX tables should be set and good to go. Sensors we don't use. Tethered logging we don't use. Black box, this doesn't have it, but maybe you have a flight controller with black box. I can't even show you. There you go. Let's fly this rig. I mean, well, I didn't reorder the motor direction, so let's maybe... let me show you ESC configurator real quick, I guess. We're going to plug in power. And then we're going to come to esc-configurator.com. We're going to click connect. We're going to click read settings. And this is currently on BlueJay 0.16, but 96 kilohertz. That sucks. OH50. That's a different one. Where the hell is it? BlueJay, there it is. What did I say? OH50? I certainly don't have the file for that one. Here's this link that I'm at. This is my favorite version of BlueJay. Here's the link for anybody that doesn't have access to the chat. This is my favorite version of BlueJay, 0.16. You scroll down, you connect to ESC configurator, and then you look right here. This is the specific version of your ESC CPU. So it's OH50, and you try to find it in the list. If it doesn't exist in the list, you're shit out of luck. I'm going the wrong way. OH50. OH50. I like 48 kilohertz. It has this. It's the best middle ground. 96 doesn't have enough braking. 24 doesn't have enough power or efficiency. 48 is the way to go. OH50 48.16 hex. I've now downloaded that. I can click Flash all ESCs. Flash local firmware. Downloads folder. Date added, OH50. Oh, apparently I did have OH50. Of course I had OHD50 because I've done this AIO before. And now it's going to flash that specific version of BlueJay 0.16 in that specific PWM frequency. Limits20 says, how can you change VTX output power on a switch? You can do it in that adjustments thing, I believe. I've never actually done it, so you're on your own. If you figure out how to do it, report back. But it'll be in that adjustments setup. Crom says, I've been an evangelist, whatever, For crash recovery in my group, people are absolutely loving it in bandos and 5-inch even. Yeah, it's really really good. The word is spreading. Thanks for teaching me about it. You're certainly welcome. Limits20 says, thanks, mate. You're certainly welcome. I think I'm caught up on chat. Thank you for not hammering me in chat, friends. Oh, shit. Hey, when you connect to ESC configurator, make sure your transmitter is turned off. It will make really weird shit happen. If it gets hung like this, it's because your transmitter is on. In a second here, it'll unhang. Every day with Bruno says, check your PayPal. Oh, shit. I smell some generosity. Bruno with a $5 PayPal. Thank you, brother. He says, thanks for always dropping knowledge. You're certainly welcome, my friend. Thank you for supporting the madness. This usually frees up quicker than this. Please work. Electric Gang, welcome to the Gangly Gang, my friend. Thank you for joining my Patreon. Tyler S., thank you for joining the Patreon as well, my friend. Welcome to the gangliest of all the gangs. Oh, there's an email about the high-speed AOS rig. That's fun. All right, this is all the way hung up, which is scary, scary. I hate to do this, but I kind of have to. Let's see if it bricked it. Oh, fuck. All right, let's power cycle the AIO. It doesn't usually brick it, but if it's going to brick, that's when it's going to brick. Brick-a-baka! Maybe it's too hot. Hey, there we go. Yeah, okay, so it is super angry. Flash failed, but look, it's still good. Flash all ESCs, flash local firmware. Hopefully we're going to be all right. OH50, open. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Come on, baby, make it. Go all the way, go all the way, go all the way. Go, 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 go. Score! All right, so we're back. Pito says the max voltage does not help. Did not help. Yeah, I didn't think it would. Yeah, I had that problem very briefly, and I couldn't figure it out. Fire up them Google foo skills, my friend. Search Google, search YouTube. Maybe somebody's having that same problem. Limits20 says title was about to change to how to unbrick an ESC. Actually, it will be. So there we go. Now this has my favorite version of BlueJay in 48K. Here's a couple settings that I will usually do. Why can't I adjust these? That's weird. Let's disconnect and reconnect. Settings. What? Let's power cycle it. This poor thing's been sitting plugged in for a long time. It might just be hot. Oh, it's because there's no... That's weird. There was no motor timing set. Motor timing, you want 15 degrees medium. On 75 millimeter rigs, you almost always need to max the minimum and maximum startup power out. Beep strength for tiny little whoops, you want to turn up. The beepers are very quiet on these little guys, so turn them up to like 120, 140, whatever. Beacon delay, set this to 2 minutes. If it's sitting for 2 minutes plugged in, you haven't flown it, it'll start beeping to say, hey, for God's sake, I'm plugged in, idiot. Brake on stop doesn't really matter on tiny whoops, but for bigger rigs, you definitely want to use brake on stop. That is going to immediately stop the propellers when you disarm. It's not going to let them spin down slowly. It's going to slam them to a stop. If you're stuck in somebody's hair, this is going to make a difference. That's it. That's your ESC configurator settings. Now we're going to fly it. That's my crotch. All right, here we go. Flat spot towards me. It's bound. It's all dialed. We'll see how the tune is. Usually I'm pretty good at that first pass on the tune. Just taking a guess. And get some goggles on my face. And away we shall go. CPU overload. What the hell does that mean? Calib is for calibration. Something is not calibrated. Is it the gyro? Oh boy, it is hot. Hold on. You wouldn't believe how much just blowing on an AIO like that helps it. All right, hold on. Let's hook it up to Betaflight and take a quick look. Calibration. The CPU overload is interesting. Let's take a look at what the processor is running at once Betaflight launches. All right, let's see. So CPU load 43%. That's fine. Okay, calibrating MSP. Oh, it's been a long time since I had that one. What the hell does that mean? Maximum arm angle 180. Accelerometer on. That's fine. Balls. What is that? Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that one. MSP is a normal arming flag to have when it's plugged into Betaflight. It's so that you can't arm it with it hooked up to Betaflight and kill yourself. Let's just try this. Calibrating MSP. What the hell does that mean? Let's just check a couple things real quick here. Motors, bidirectional D-shot is turned on. Motor stop, ESC sensor, D-shot 300. Props in, motor direction is reversed. It wouldn't be anything in here. Calibrating MSP. Why does it say calibrating MSP? Shouldn't it just say MSP? Let me plug something else in real fast here. All right, hold up. Let's see what this says. Oh, it goes from calibrating MSP to just MSP. Why would it be stuck calibrating the MSP? What the hell does that mean? Calibrating MSP. Interesting. So I think what's going on is that it thinks it's hooked up. It thinks it's hooked up to oh, those are two separate tags. Craft is currently calibrating. Let me try flipping it upside down. Oh, I've got a major oh, well, the delay is because it won't calibrate. The gyro, my guess is that, let's see, it looks fine here. I was going to say the gyro is showing too much noise. Yeah, see how it's moving a little bit? Okay, yeah, this is the problem. I think this gyro is shot. This is sitting perfectly flat on my desk. See how much this is jittering? It doesn't like that. In order to calibrate properly, it has to not jitter like this. It has to be stable for a little bit of time. Oh yeah, this gyro is this gyro or accelerometer are bad. Here's how you figure out which one it is. I think it's the gyro, but it's stuck calibrating. There's something that's jittering too much. Let's turn off the accelerometer. This is, I mean, technically we can fly it without the accelerometer, but we won't be able to have crash recovery. But we're just doing it right now. Oh, well, I mean, that kills this. That's right. This is driven off of the accelerometer rather than the gyro. But what we can do now is we can troubleshoot, because it didn't tell us what it was calibrating. It calibrates both. Well, it only calibrates the accelerometer when you hit the button. So I guess I should have known that this is a gyro calibration problem. So yeah, the gyro is basically failed. Yeah, this gyro is too jittery for this thing to calibrate. What I can do is adjust in the CLI. Let me turn this transmitter off. I can adjust how... I can adjust that threshold. This is a super Band-Aid. This is not ideal. But, see this? I typed get gyro into the CLI. There's an item here, gyro cal on first arm. So let me see what that says. Gyro calibrate on first arm is set to off. What the hell? I thought they oops, sorry. I thought it was always set to on. Gyro calibration duration. Gyro calibration noise limit. Here it is. Gyro calibration noise limit is down in the bottom. So we could potentially raise this, although let's try it. Let's try raising this to see if it'll get past that. Although it says that it's not trying to calibrate the gyro. I thought that it always did. I'm going to max it at 200 and save. Oh, we're in the fucking weeds now. You should not have to do this. But let's see if that helps. Yep, that helps it. So this gyro is just noisy. That's weird that it says that it's not the gyro calib on first arm says off, but it's obviously not off. So let me try to lower that. I had it up at 200. Let me try to drop it down to 100, and we'll see how this thing flies. We'll get it up in the air, and we'll see how it flies. It might be totally fine. Calibrating. Hold on. Let me put it up on the desk so that, because my foot is kind of moving a little bit. Nope. 100 is too low. Let's go up to 150. Whoop. Nope. Type set first. Set. 150. Save. See how that does. I've actually never had that problem before. Yep, there it is. 150 is okay. Let's leave it at 150. We'll see what's up. Get it up in the air, see how it flies. I have a funny feeling we'll be able to see this in the air. Although, with these gimbals that I have right now being kind of jittery, it maybe not. But this should get us in the air. Yep, see that? Oh, well, although... Why you no bind? There it goes. Oh my god, I forgot to change the the motor direction. I went into the motors tab to do it and then got all carried away explaining everything to you guys. All right. And there we go. Plugged in. Motors tab. Motor direction. Understand the risks. Wizard, start and spin. Motor 1 is wrong. 2 is right. 3 is right. And of course, 4 is wrong. And this is yet another craft that this motor direction thing does not work. So we've got to go into the ESC configurator and do it the old school way. Turn the transmitter off. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. So 1 was wrong and 4 was wrong. Right settings. Now we're good. All right, flat spot towards me. I thought I'd easily be able to get through this and the other stuff on this stream, but hey, been wrong before, I'll be wrong again. Let's go, little buddy! Time to fly. Come on, Express LRS. Do it. Do it. Connect. Connect! There it is. Oh, I can hear it. Oh, yeah. Well. Oh, yeah. This got a bad gyro. Woo, boy. That is nasty. There's a chance that it's the tune. Here's how we remove the tune from the equation. We take the master multiplier and turn it way down. All the way down to 0.5. This craft is going to fly like a bag of assholes, but... Yep, nope. This gyro has failed. That's why it calibrates the gyro. I mean, technically this is now flyable. The PID tune is so weak from the master multiplier being down like that that it's not gonna cook the motors or the ESC. But I ain't gonna fly it like this. It feels like ass. Yeah, no, this is... So, there's a bad gyro. There are some symptoms of a bad gyro right there. Ooh, look at that. Look how bad that is when I pump the throttle up and down. This is also what it flies like, what it looks like to fly a rig with very low PIDs. Very soft bounces all over the place. See how like the stick response is still quick, but see all those soft bounces, especially on yaw. It's gonna bounce real soft. This is a rig with PID gains that are really low. That's a shame. All that work and this AIO is trash. But that's okay. I'm sure somebody learned something, and yeah, there you go. I don't know why I'm doing this. This AIO is going in the garbage. But yeah, this is like this is not even a cranked up PID tune. And look at all this garbage. That's just coming from the gyro signal moving all over the place. Hey. Alright, this is actually hard. This is now hard on the motors and the battery, and they didn't do anything wrong. So there you go, friends. There's a bunch of troubleshooting built into this live stream. Shit, yeah. Anybody learn anything? Wyatt says, what email can I contact with you with? Go to CiottiFPV.com. On the top, there's a bunch of icons. One of them is email. To be honest, though, my email is a bit of a war zone. If you're on Instagram, message me on there. That's a much better way of getting in touch with me. I will absolutely reply to an email, but it'll take a couple days, usually. So yeah, Instagram is the best. Discord is the second best. Facebook Messenger, I guess, is the third best. Email would be the fourth best. Damn, that's a shame. That's a shame. Oh well, that's FPV sometimes, man. Even brand new stuff has the potential to be bad right out of the box. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com to support me. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern. That will be a giveaway live stream. So get on the 5. This wasn't iFlight AIO. Yeah, iFlight Blitz AIO. I mean, I guess maybe something. Nope. It would not have had those weird gyro calibration issues if there was something pushed up again. I was just thinking like maybe I don't have the AIO mounted properly, but no, it would be able to calibrate if it wasn't, regardless of whether or not I had shit pushed up against it. It was indeed Levster, so I got to figure something else out, brother. Sorry. I'll probably just take one of the other rigs apart and swap it out. I'll figure something out for you, though. Yeah, the $5 and up tiers on my Patreon will enter you to win minimum $40 or $50 worth of stuff tomorrow night. So even if you subscribe for 10 months straight, if you win once, you'll break even. CiottiFPV.com, click the Patreon button, get yourself entered to win. It's tomorrow night, 10 o'clock. See you guys there. Here's some more 5-inching. No, here's a Cinewhoop with no HD cam in it in the front yard. It was being a little unruly. But yeah, here's what analog 3-inch Cinewhooping looks like in the front yard. It's staggeringly similar to tiny whooping because I run big thick ducts to slow the Cinewhoops down. It also makes them a lot more accurate. Love you, bye! See you tomorrow night.
Thank you.